In the early 1960s, the Reds played at Crosley Field in the west end of Cincinnati. At the same time, the city acquired an American Football League franchise, the Bengals, which played at the University of Cincinnati's Nippert Stadium. Both teams needed a new venue, and as was the style in the 60s, a multi-purpose stadium was to be built to host both football and baseball games. The stadium would ultimately be located downtown on the banks of the Ohio. The new complex would be built on a patch of land just east of the Roebling Bridge, replacing businesses and homes of some of Cincinnati's earliest residents, including the childhood home of country western star Roy Rogers. Ground was broken on February 1, 1968, and construction was underway. The Mammoth Stadium was built using 10,000 tons of steel, 13,000 tons of reinforcing steel, and 175,000 cubic yards of concrete. The cost, more than $45 million. Once completed, the circular stadium was 700 feet wide and encapsulated 8 acres. It contained 4 seating levels with a capacity for baseball games of nearly 53,000. The facility overall, including platforms, parking garages, and more, had an enormous footprint of 48 acres. After more than 2 years of construction, Riverfront finally greeted fans for a Major League Baseball game on June 30, 1970. In that inaugural year, the Reds won the National League pennant and reached the World Series. The Big Red Machine was in high gear throughout the 70s.
And a pitch to bench. Change hit in the air to deep right field. Back goes Clemente.
By the end of the decade, they would achieve numerous MVP honors and 2 World Series titles. Many more highlights were to follow. The 1990 Reds led baseball from the beginning to the end of the season, culminating in a World Series sweep of the Oakland A's. The stadium would witness Tom Browning throw a perfect game.
And here it comes, and it is swung out and missed. And Tom Browning has pitched a perfect game.
And of course, Pete Rose connect on his record-breaking 4,192nd hit.
He levels the bat a couple of times. Shao kicks and he fires. Rose swings. There it is! There it is! Get out! Get out! All right! Hit number 4192.
Eventually, the concept of multi-purpose arenas became a thing of the past. In 2000, the Bengals moved out of Riverfront Stadium and into the newly constructed Paul Brown Stadium, a football-only facility that creates the western boundary of the bank's development. Plans were also underway to build a new park for the Reds, but the transition would be slightly more complex. To allow for that construction, while the Reds continued to play in Riverfront, a large wedge and nearly 14,000 seats were removed from the outfield portion of the stadium, and the new baseball-only park was erected adjacent to it. On December 29, 2002, Riverfront Stadium was imploded and left to rubble. This was a bittersweet event that marked the end of a proud era for our Reds, but also the beginning of an even brighter future for the Riverfront as the old stadium's acreage was converted to lively restaurants, shops, and green space. Now fans gather at the beautiful Great American Ballpark to cheer on the Reds, but they always hold dear the heroics that occurred before the banks.
For more information about Riverfront Stadium and the Cincinnati Reds, visit the Reds Hall of Fame and Museum just outside of Great American Ballpark. For more information about the banks, visit thebankspublicpartnership.com.